The classification. Archivist Zix427 found herself staring at her holoscreen for the third time that cycle, unable to process what she was seeing. In her centuries of maintaining the Grand Galactic Archive's security classification system, she had never encountered an anomaly quite like this one. The entry for Sol 3, known to its inhabitants as Earth, blazed with warning indicators that shouldn't have been possible. The classification matrix showed every danger category at maximum levels, yet the explanation field contained just 3 words. Leave them alone. Computer, verify authentication level for Earth classification, Zix commanded, her 4 appendages instinctively forming the gesture of uncertainty. Classification authorized by Supreme Council Decree GC 7749. Highest level verification confirmed. The AI responded in its characteristic monotone. Zix's outer membrane rippled with frustration. As head of classification review, she was responsible for ensuring the accuracy of every planetary danger rating in the known galaxy. She had personally reviewed entries for worlds with atmosphere-dissolving bacteria, others with predators that could devour starships whole, and even a few with quantum instabilities that occasionally erased them from existence. But none of them carried this particular combination of warnings. She initiated a deep archive search, her credentials granting her access to records stretching back thousands of cycles. The results made her pause. Every attempt to study Earth had ended in failure, but not in the usual ways. The humans hadn't destroyed the research vessels or attacked the observation posts. Instead, they had done something far more unsettling. They had noticed them. Zix pulled up the first incident report, dated 300 cycles ago. A cloaked research vessel, using technology that should have been undetectable to a pre-FTL civilization, had positioned itself in high orbit around Earth to study human development. Within 6 rotations, the humans had not only detected the ship but had begun broadcasting a message to it in perfect galactic standard. "We see you. Please identify yourself or leave our space." The ship had retreated immediately, but that was just the beginning. Subsequent reports showed a pattern that defied conventional understanding. Humans didn't develop technology in the expected linear progression. They made inexplicable leaps, solving problems they shouldn't have even been able to conceptualize yet. One report particularly caught her attention. A xenanthropologist had attempted to study human problem-solving capabilities by secretly introducing a series of increasingly complex mechanical puzzles into a small human settlement. The experiment was meant to last a full cycle, carefully documenting how long it would take humans to understand each device. The humans had solved every puzzle within a single rotation. Then they had reverse-engineered them, improved upon the designs, and begun mass-producing their enhanced versions. The xenanthropologist's conclusion was simply, they don't just solve problems. They actively seek them out, and they appear to enjoy the process. As Zix continued reading, her unease grew. The humans had developed nuclear fission before reliable air travel. They had sent primitive spacecraft to their moon using nothing but chemical rockets and mathematical calculations done by hand. They had created a global communication network using technology that most species would consider hopelessly primitive, then used it to share knowledge at a pace that should have been impossible. But what truly set them apart wasn't their technological achievements, it was their response to failure. Where most species learned caution from their mistakes, humans seemed to view failure as nothing more than data for their next attempt. They failed faster, tried more variations, and somehow emerged stronger from each setback. A classified psychological analysis caught her eye. Human innovation appears to be driven not by necessity, but by an inexplicable desire to see if something is possible. They will expend enormous resources solving problems simply because those problems exist. More worryingly, they appear to share all their knowledge freely among themselves, leading to an exponential growth in their capabilities that defies all known models of species development. Zix was so absorbed in her reading that she almost missed the priority alert flashing on her screen. A research vessel had gone missing near the edges of human space. The ship's last transmission mentioned detecting an unusual signal. The humans had been broadcasting what appeared to be instructions for building an FTL drive. Her outer membrane went cold. She quickly cross-referenced the specifications in the human broadcast with known FTL technology. The design was unlike anything in the archives, theoretical or practical. According to the analysis, it would be at least 30% more efficient than current galactic standard drives. The humans hadn't even built it yet. They had simply figured out it should be possible and decided to share the idea with anyone who might be listening. Zix began composing her classification review report, but stopped halfway through. For the first time in her career, she decided some information was better left unrecorded. She authorized the existing classification and added just one line to the notes. They don't follow the rules because they don't see them as rules. They see them as puzzles. She was about to log off when a final report caught her attention. A routine scan had picked up unusual activity in a supposedly empty region of space near Earth. The humans appeared to be building something massive, far from their normal shipping lanes. The structure's purpose was unknown, but it was growing rapidly. Initial scans suggested it might be some kind of space station, but its design made no sense. It appeared to have no clear up or down orientation, with sections jutting out at impossible angles. Power readings were inconsistent with known technology, and the materials being used in its construction didn't match anything in the Galactic Database. The humans were calling it a research facility. Zix made one final addition to Earth's classification file. Under no circumstances should they be given problems to solve. They will solve them in ways that create bigger problems. As she filed her report, she couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy wasn't ready for humans, or perhaps, more accurately, humans weren't waiting for the galaxy to be ready for them. In the centuries that would follow, countless species would encounter that simple warning in the Galactic Database: leave them alone. Most would heed it. Those who didn't would learn firsthand why Earth had earned its unique classification. And somewhere out there, humanity continued to solve problems that no one had asked them to solve, build things that shouldn't have been possible, and prepare for a future they had already decided was within their reach. The galaxy just hadn't realized it yet. The experiment. Senior xenobiologist Kira Venn knew her research request would be denied before she submitted it. The Galactic Council had made their position clear. Earth was strictly off-limits for direct observation, but after spending decades studying the scattered data available on humans, she had become convinced that the Council's fear was based on misunderstanding. She needed to see for herself, which was why she now found herself in a cloaked research pod, hovering above a modest human settlement in what they called Montana. Her ship utilized the latest in stealth technology, far beyond what humans should be able to detect. The Council's warnings echoed in her mind, but she dismissed them. After all, how dangerous could a pre-FTL species really be? Her plan was elegant in its simplicity. She would release a series of self-replicating observation drones, each no larger than a human insect. They would gather data on human behavior in their natural habitat, allowing her to study them without any interference. The drones were virtually indestructible, powered by quantum fields, and programmed with advanced camouflage algorithms. The first wave of drones deployed silently into the night sky. Kira Venn watched through their feeds as they dispersed throughout the settlement, positioning themselves in optimal observation points. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. Until it wasn't. Within 3 hours, she noticed something odd in the drone feeds. Humans were looking directly at her supposedly invisible drones, not just occasionally, but consistently. Children pointed at them curiously. Adults squinted and adjusted their viewing angles to track them. Impossible, she muttered, double-checking the camouflage protocols. They were functioning perfectly. The drones should have been undetectable to human senses. Then she intercepted a local communication transmission. "Hey Bill, you seeing these weird floating things too? They're kind of pretty, like little heat shimmer spots in the air." Kira Venn felt her scales tighten. Humans shouldn't have been able to perceive the quantum distortion effect. Their eyes weren't evolved for it. Yet somehow, they were not only seeing it but discussing it casually, as if the presence of impossible technology was nothing more than a mild curiosity. She watched in growing alarm as humans began actively investigating the drones. They didn't run from them or attack them. Instead, they started experimenting. One human child caught a drone in a transparent container and proudly showed it to her parents. Another group had set up what appeared to be primitive scanning equipment, arguing excitedly about frequency patterns and electromagnetic anomalies. But the real shock came when she intercepted another transmission, this time from what appeared to be a local research facility. Analysis confirms unknown technology, definitely not terrestrial origin. Energy signature suggests quantum-level power source. We've started reverse engineering attempts. Dr. Chen thinks we might be able to replicate the field generation by next week. Kira Ven felt her blood run cold. This wasn't supposed to be possible. The drones use technology that should have been incomprehensible to humans, let alone replicable. She immediately initiated the drone recall sequence. Nothing happened. She tried again, broadcasting the signal at maximum power. The drones remained in place, still transmitting their feeds. With growing horror, she realized what was happening. The humans hadn't just discovered the drones, they had already begun modifying them. Through the feeds, she watched as groups of humans gathered in what they called garages and workshops. They had somehow managed to access the drone's quantum cores without triggering their fail-safes. But instead of destroying the technology they couldn't understand, they were improving it. "Look at this power distribution," one human said, pointing to a crude diagram. "If we reconfigure the quantum field like this, we could probably double its efficiency." Another human chimed in, "What if we scaled it up? These little guys are cool, but imagine this tech powering a car or a house." Kira Ven had seen enough. She began powering up her ship's engines, preparing to flee. But before she could engage the drive, her sensors detected something approaching. Multiple somethings rising from the settlement below. They were her drones, but not as she had designed them. The humans had modified them, made them bigger, faster. And they were heading straight for her cloaked ship. A transmission cut through her panic. To the observer in the cloaked vessel, "Thanks for the amazing tech. We've made some improvements we'd love to share. Please stay. We have so many questions." The voice was friendly, enthusiastic even. That somehow made it worse. Kira Ven engaged her emergency teleport, abandoning her ship. As she materialized in her backup vessel at the edge of the solar system, she immediately began composing her report to the Council. But what could she say? That she had inadvertently gifted quantum technology to humans. That instead of being terrified of incomprehensible alien tech, they had treated it like an exciting puzzle to be solved. In the end, she wrote just one line. They don't just adapt to new technology, they improve it. And they're excited about it. Years later, when Earth finally revealed itself to the galaxy at large, they arrived in ships powered by quantum drives that were generations beyond anything the Galactic Council had developed. The designs looked surprisingly familiar to Kira Ven, though the humans had clearly not stopped at merely replicating her drone technology. They had turned it into something new, something that should have been impossible. And they were eager to share it with everyone. Because that, she had learned, was perhaps the most terrifying thing about humans. They treated the impossible as merely a challenge yet to be overcome, and they wanted everyone to join in the fun. The trade route. First Officer Rixel of the merchant vessel Star Wanderer had a problem. Their ship's quantum navigation system had malfunctioned, forcing them out of hyperspace directly into the one region of space that every experienced trader avoided, the Sol system. As he stared at the blue-green planet growing larger on their view screen, he recalled all the warnings about Earth and its inhabitants. "Captain," he called out, mandibles clicking nervously, "we need to restart the drive immediately. This sector is restricted for a reason." Captain Mira, a veteran of the trading guild with scales that had long since faded from their original bright green to a distinguished gray, merely nodded. Trying now, but something's interfering with the restart sequence. That's when they noticed the transmission. It was being broadcast on all frequencies, using basic radio waves rather than the standard quantum channels. The message was simple. Unidentified vessel, you have entered restricted space. Your drive system appears to be malfunctioning. Would you like assistance? The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. The humans shouldn't have been able to detect them this quickly, let alone diagnose their drive problems. More concerning was the offer of help. Every trader knew that accepting assistance from humans inevitably led to complications. Ignore it, Rixel suggested, once we get the drive online. Warning, their ship's AI interrupted. Drive containment failing. Catastrophic breach imminent. Captain Mira's expression hardened. They had a choice. Risk their ship and crew trying to restart a failing drive, or accept help from the species that every trading manual marked with the highest caution rating. She opened a channel. Earth Control, this is the merchant vessel Star Wanderer. We accept your offer of assistance. The response was immediate and cheerful. Excellent. We're dispatching a repair team. Please maintain your current position. What happened next defied everything Rixel knew about space rescue operations. Instead of the expected maintenance vessels, they watched as several small ships approached, each carrying what appeared to be modified shipping containers. The containers attached themselves to the Star Wanderer's hull, and humans in environmental suits emerged from them, already carrying tools. "Hi there," came a voice over their comm. "I'm Sarah Chen, Emergency Engineering Response. We'll have you fixed up in no time. Though I have to say, your drive design is fascinating. Mind if we take a look while we're stabilizing it?" Before anyone could respond, the humans had already begun working. They moved with practiced efficiency, as if repairing advanced alien technology was something they did every day. Which, Rixel realized with growing unease, it probably was. "Interesting solution you've got for quantum field containment," Sarah commented as she worked. "But you might want to consider a triple helix configuration instead of the standard double. Reduces strain on the primary coils by about 40%. Captain Mira blinked in surprise. "That's not possible." The field harmonics wooled. "Oh, they would with traditional materials," Sarah agreed. "But we've developed a new alloy that handles the resonance issues. Actually, we've got some spare parts if you'd like to try it. Could probably boost your efficiency by at least 30%. Rixel watched in amazement as the humans not only repaired their drive, but began making improvements to it. They worked with a casual competence that bordered on the surreal, treating highly advanced technology as if it were nothing more complex than a vintage ground car. "There's something else you should know," Sarah added as her team worked. "Your navigation charts are out of date. That's probably why you ended up here. The local space-time topology changed a bit after our latest experiments with dimensional physics. We've been trying to update the Galactic Database, but well," she shrugged, "nobody seems to want to accept our data submissions." Captain Mira's scales had taken on a distinctly pale hue. "You've been experimenting with dimensional physics." "Oh sure. Found some really interesting applications too. Say, would you like the latest nav data? We've mapped out some great shortcuts that could cut your usual road time in half." The offer was tempting. Extraordinarily so. Every trader knew that faster routes meant more profit, but they also knew that using human technology tended to have unexpected consequences. Then Sarah said something that changed everything. "No charge, by the way. We just like helping. And maybe if it works out, you could spread the word that we're not actually trying to destroy the galaxy or whatever it is everyone thinks we're doing out here." That was when Rixel understood something crucial about humans. They weren't just dangerous because of their technology or their ability to solve problems. They were dangerous because they genuinely wanted to help, to share what they knew, to improve things simply because they could see room for improvement. In the end, Captain Mira accepted both the repairs and the navigation data. As they prepared to depart, Sarah's team even installed what they called a basic emergency beacon, though its capabilities seemed far from basic to the crew's engineer. "Just in case you have any more trouble," Sarah explained. "It'll let us know if you need help, anywhere in the galaxy. We've got a few rapid response teams that could use the practice." As the Star Wanderer resumed its journey, now moving faster and more efficiently than ever before, Rixel updated their ship's log. Under emergency repairs, he wrote, "Humans are not dangerous because they want to harm us. They are dangerous because they want to help us, and their help always works better than it should." Within a year, the Trading Guild would notice a strange pattern. Ships that had been helped by humans consistently outperformed their competitors. Many began to deliberately plot courses that would cause drive malfunctions near Earth. The humans, for their part, seemed delighted by the increasing opportunities to tinker with alien technology. And if the Guild noticed that human innovations were slowly but surely revolutionizing galactic trade, well, they decided some changes were worth the risk. After all, as Sarah had said, they were just trying to help. The challenge. The grand amphitheater of the Galactic Council had never been so crowded. Representatives from over 1,000 civilizations gathered to witness the Millennial Challenge, a tradition dating back to the founding of the Council itself. The challenge was simple in concept. Solve 3 impossible problems, designed to push the boundaries of what was scientifically achievable. High Coordinator Valshera stood at the central podium, her crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns that conveyed both authority and anticipation. "For the first time," she announced, "we have extended an invitation to Earth to participate." A murmur of concern rippled through the assembly. Everyone had heard about Earth by now. The planet whose inhabitants treated the laws of physics more like polite suggestions than absolute rules. The human representative, Dr. James Chen, sat quietly in his designated area, looking remarkably calm for someone whose species was about to compete against civilizations thousands of years more advanced than his own. Next to him sat his team's AI interface, which they had insisted on bringing despite the Council's reservations. "The first challenge," Valshera continued, "involves stable quantum entanglement across galactic distances. No civilization has yet maintained coherence beyond a few light years." The various teams began their attempts. The Rigelians, masters of quantum mechanics, managed to achieve entanglement across 50 light years before their system collapsed. The Centaurians pushed it to 75. Each attempt was met with appreciative murmurs from the crowd. Then came Earth's turn. Dr. Chen stood up, exchanged a glance with his eye, and said simply, "We took a different approach." Instead of the expected quantum equipment, they activated what appeared to be a crude mechanical device. The monitoring equipment showed no quantum signatures at all. "There must be some mistake," one of the judges began. "No mistake," Dr. Chen replied. "We're maintaining stable quantum entanglement across the entire galaxy right now. We just didn't do it with quantum technology." He explained how they had discovered that certain crystalline structures, when properly arranged, could naturally maintain quantum coherence without complex equipment. They had seeded these crystals throughout the galaxy over the past year, hitching rides on various trading vessels. "But that's not following the parameters of the challenge," protested a Rigelian scientist. "The challenge was to achieve stable quantum entanglement across galactic distances," Dr. Chen pointed out. It didn't specify how. Before the judges could debate this interpretation, Valshera announced the second challenge. "Create a self-sustaining fusion reaction that produces more energy than it consumes." Again, the teams set to work. The Arcturians came close, achieving 95% efficiency. The Syrians managed 98%. All eyes turned to Earth's station. Dr. Chen looked almost embarrassed. "We actually solved this one by accident last month. We were trying to build a better coffee maker." The silence in the amphitheater was absolute. You discovered sustainable fusion while trying to make coffee? Valshera asked incredulously. Well, yes. You see, we wanted to make the perfect cup of coffee, and our calculations showed we needed temperatures and pressures that only fusion could provide. So we had to solve fusion first. Would anyone like a cup? The taste is quite remarkable. The third challenge was announced. Create a stable wormhole between 2 points in spacetime. This time, Dr. Chen didn't even stand up. Their AI interface spoke instead. We discovered 17 different ways to do that while brainstorming solutions for the first 2 challenges. Would you like to see them all, or just the 3 that don't risk accidentally creating parallel universes? Valshera's crystalline form flickered in what might have been exasperation. Dr. Chen, your species seems to have a unique approach to problem solving. We prefer to think of it as being thorough, he replied. When we encounter an interesting problem, we tend to explore all possible solutions, even the ones that might seem ridiculous at first. Sometimes, especially those ones. It's led to some unexpected breakthroughs, like fusion-powered coffee makers. Exactly. Though you should see what happened when we tried to build a better toaster. We accidentally invented a way to manipulate dark energy. Still working on getting the toast exactly right, though. The council chambers erupted in confused discussion. The humans hadn't just solved the challenges, they had fundamentally changed how everyone thought about problem-solving itself. In the end, the council had to create a new category just for Earth. They couldn't disqualify them. Technically, they had solved every challenge. But they also couldn't declare them winners in the traditional sense, because their solutions violated the spirit, if not the letter, of the rules. As the event concluded, Dr. Chen was approached by scientists from various civilizations, all eager to discuss Earth's methods. We don't understand, one admitted. How do you consistently find solutions that nobody else even considers? Chen smiled. We have a saying on Earth. The box you're trying to think outside of is also a box, so we prefer not to acknowledge the box exists in the first place. The final entry in the challenge records simply stated, Earth's participation in future events to be carefully considered. Their solutions, while effective, tend to raise more questions than they answer. Also, their definition of impossible appears to be fundamentally incompatible with standard galactic terminology. As for the fusion-powered coffee maker, it became an overnight sensation across the galaxy. Though most species agreed that the coffee it produced was terrible, the fusion technology revolutionized energy production throughout known space. And somewhere on Earth, a team of engineers was already working on a better model, because they were convinced the toast still wasn't quite perfect. The Alliance. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began in chaos. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy. Entire solar systems going dark, communications networks failing, and strange energy signatures that defied analysis. For the first time in recorded history, the galaxy faced a threat that none of their advanced civilizations could understand, let alone combat. High Counselor Vex 9, their crystalline form dulled with stress, called the session to order. The entity continues to expand. Our best estimates suggest it will consume the core worlds within 3 standard cycles. The assembled representatives, representing the most advanced civilizations in known space, fell into desperate discussion. The Arcturians' quantum weapons had no effect. The Rigelians' time displacement technology couldn't slow it down. Even the dreaded Syrian war fleets had been swatted aside like insects. Then, from the back of the chamber, a voice spoke up. Have you tried asking the humans? The suggestion came from Trading Guild representative Mira, her scales now completely gray with age. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew about humans by now. Their impossible solutions, their disregard for established scientific principles, their tendency to create 3 new problems while solving the current one. The humans? Vex 9 asked carefully. Their system isn't even in the affected region yet. Exactly, Mira replied. which means they've had time to study this thing from a distance. And if there's one thing humans excel at, it's finding solutions to problems they shouldn't even be able to understand. A transmission request flashed on the central display. The source, Earth. When the connection was established, the human representative appeared surprisingly calm for someone whose galaxy was being devoured by an unknown cosmic horror. "Hi there," Dr. Sarah Chen said, her gray hair and lined face suggesting she was the same Sarah who had once helped stranded trading vessels. "We couldn't help but notice you've got a bit of a situation. Need a hand?" The council chamber erupted in simultaneous translation as dozens of species tried to explain the crisis at once. Sarah listened patiently, occasionally nodding. "Oh, that," she said when they finished. "Yeah, we've been watching that for a while now. Fascinating phenomenon. Really. We think it's a quantum phase space anomaly with consciousness-like properties. Kind of like a living void in the fabric of reality." You know what it is?" Vex-9 asked incredulously. "Well, sure. We had to figure that out before we could start working on solutions. We've actually developed several approaches. Would you like to hear them?" The council collectively leaned forward. "Auction 1. Sarah began. "We could try to communicate with it. Turns out it's not actually hostile. It's just curious, kind of like a cosmic toddler exploring its environment. We've been working on a translation matrix." "You want to talk to the void that's eating our galaxy?" someone asked. "Why not? Everything's worth talking to at least once. But if that doesn't appeal to you, option 2 involves using modified fusion coffee maker technology to generate a controlled quantum disruption field. Might give it indigestion, so to speak." The council representatives exchanged bewildered looks. "Or there's option 3. Sarah continued cheerfully. "We figured out how to fold space in a way that would essentially move the affected systems out of its path while we work on a permanent solution. Bit tricky, and we'd need to borrow some power from a few thousand stars. But it's doable." "These solutions," Vex-9 said slowly, "they all sound impossible," Sarah suggested. "Yeah, we get that a lot. But here's the thing. We've already successfully tested all 3 approaches on a smaller scale. Would you like to see the data?" The data they provided was comprehensive, if somewhat alarming. The humans had apparently created miniature versions of the cosmic anomaly in their laboratories, just to practice dealing with them. They had developed their solutions through what they called trial and error, though several council members noted that the number of errors should have resulted in the destruction of Earth several times over. "How?" Mira asked finally. "How did you develop these solutions so quickly?" Sarah shrugged. "We like puzzles. When we saw this thing approaching, pretty much every scientist on Earth dropped what they were doing to work on it. It was fun. We had a sort of informal competition, going to see who could come up with the wildest solution that actually worked." The council deliberated for less than an hour, a record in its million-year history. In the end, they unanimously voted to accept Earth's help, though they insisted on implementing all 3 solutions simultaneously, just to be safe. What followed was perhaps the strangest operation in galactic history. Humans coordinated with countless alien species, deploying their impossible technologies with an enthusiasm that bordered on unsettling. They chatted with the cosmic horror while rearranging the structure of space-time around it, all while using borrowed stellar energy to power devices that shouldn't have existed. To everyone's surprise, it worked. The entity, after an engaging conversation about the nature of existence, agreed to avoid inhabited systems. The displaced planets were successfully relocated, and the modified fusion technology created a protective barrier against future incursions. In the aftermath, the Council had no choice but to formally acknowledge Earth as a full member of the galactic community. There was, however, one unusual condition, proposed by the humans themselves. "We request," Sarah said, "that our system maintain its don't even try classification in the Galactic Database." "But why?" Vex-9 asked. "After this, surely." "Because it's funny," Sarah explained. and because sometimes the best way to make friends is to be a little mysterious. Besides, we're still working on that perfect toast problem. Some of the current experiments are getting a bit explosive. The Council agreed, though they did add one note to Earth's file. When all conventional solutions fail, ask the humans, but be prepared for their solution to change everything you thought you knew about the problem. As the galaxy returned to normal, or at least a new normal that included human innovations, most species found themselves both grateful for and terrified by their new allies. The humans, for their part, seemed content to continue solving problems that no one else had thought to solve, inventing things that shouldn't have been possible, and occasionally restructuring the laws of physics in their endless quest for the perfect cup of coffee. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, a cosmic entity that had once threatened the galaxy was now engaged in a lively discussion with human scientists about the nature of reality, occasionally offering suggestions for their ongoing toast experiments. The galaxy, it seemed, would never be quite the same. But then again, change was what humans did best.